On behalf of every Tottenham fan, arguably the most long-suffering supporters in the football world right now, I demand an explanation from manager Igor Tudor. Why? Just why? Why on earth would you start backup goalkeeper Anthony Kinski over Vicario in a high-stakes Champions League knockout first leg? Was our abysmal Premier League form not enough? The UCL was the only stage left where Super Spurs could still dream. And yet, look at what you've done, Tudor. What on earth were you thinking? Kinski might be the star of the show today, but only because he literally gifted Atletico Madrid 2 goals before being hauled off after just 17 minutes. People are already comparing him to Loris Karius. The only difference is the hair. But the one truly at fault for this humiliation on Spanish soil is Igor Tudor. In today's analysis, we'll push aside the praise for Atletico Madrid for a moment. Instead, let's dissect the collapse of Tottenham under Tudor and admit one thing. This wasn't just bad luck. Spurs were outclassed in every department. But before we dive in, don't forget to like and subscribe to support the channel. The nightmare at the Metropolitan. The UCL round of 16 first leg between Atletico and Tottenham was expected to be a clash of European heavyweights. Well, let me rephrase that. Tottenham's current form is more like a relegation-threatened side. However, the Champions League was supposed to be a different story. Having finished top of their group to qualify directly for the knockouts, Spurs even had the perceived advantage of hosting the second leg. But everything changed the moment the whistle blew in Spain. Atletico started with terrifying intensity, while Tottenham looked disjointed and shell-shocked. It took only 6 minutes for the Metropolitan to erupt. A defensive howler allowed Marcos Llorente to open the scoring. That was just the beginning of a first-half nightmare. Minutes later, Antoine Griezmann doubled the lead, sending the home fans into a frenzy. The Spurs backline completely lost focus, while Atletico played with a cold, clinical edge. Julian Alvarez then punished another mistake to make it 3-0. All of this happened in under 15 minutes. For the Spurs players, it must have felt like an eternity. When Rodrigo de Paul made it 4-0 in the 22nd minute, the stadium was in pure ecstasy, while Tottenham stood there paralyzed. On the grandest stage in Europe, London's representatives collapsed in just 20 minutes. The vacant stares and helpless head-shaking painted a grim picture of a club that has lost its identity. A glimmer of hope, or just a consolation? Amidst the chaos, Pedro Porro pulled one back in the 26th minute to make it 1-4. It was a brief moment of spirit, but a 3-goal deficit was a mountain too high to climb. The half ended with Atletico in total control. In the second half, Spurs tried to push higher, but Atletico remained superior in both tactics and mentality. Julian Alvarez completed his brace in the 55th minute, making it 5-1 and extinguishing any flickering hope. Dominic Solanke managed a late goal in the 76th minute to end it 2-5, but it was merely a consolation on a night where Spurs were utterly dismantled. A club in deep crisis. This defeat marks 6 consecutive losses for Tottenham across all competitions, a dismal record never before seen in the club's history. Combined with an 11-match winless streak in the Premier League, the North London side is sinking fast. The pressure is now squarely on Igor Tudor. The Croatian strategist took over less than a month ago after Thomas Frank's sacking, but his tenure has started with 4 straight defeats and 14 goals conceded. His decision to start the 22-year-old Kinski over Vicario backfired spectacularly. Seeing the youngster subbed off in tears after 17 minutes was heartbreaking. Even former keeper Joe Hart noted that Tudor didn't even offer a word of comfort as Kinski left the pitch, a small detail that raises big questions about his man management. The ultimate insult? While Spurs were drowning, cameras caught an Atletico fan casually making a giant ham and cheese baguette in the stands. When a rival fan is calm enough to prep a sandwich during a UCL knockout game, you know your team has lost all respect. What's next for Spurs? The reality is terrifying. Spurs are now just 1 point above the relegation zone in the Premier League. Their next match, a daunting trip to Anfield to face Liverpool on March 15th. Reports suggest the board is already considering Tudor's future. He could become the shortest-tenured manager in Premier League history. Football is about cycles, but this is the darkest period Spurs have faced in years. Is there a miracle left for the second leg in London? European football has seen great comebacks, but the question isn't just about tactics anymore. It's about whether this team has the heart to stand up after such a devastating blow. The night at the Metropolitan will pass, but the scars will remain. For the Spurs faithful, we can only hope the team finds its soul before it's too late.